When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 9 of PogbaWatch. You're joined by your usuals, Sebby and Morayo. How's it going, Sebby?
Good, bro.
I'm good. I think you remember when we first started this, my hope was that he'd start the season poorly, and as the season went on, his form would improve, and we'd be able to kind of debunk some of the myth and the hype around his name. I'm looking decent. So
You're good chip still. You're good chip. You're good chip.
So since last week's kind of catch up, because we hadn't done an episode for a while, he's played one match. He didn't play in the FA Cup against Watford, but he played. What day was it now? Was it today's Thursday? Was it Monday? It was Tuesday. He played on Tuesday against Burnley. He was amazing. Let me read out the stats. So he played 90 minutes. He scored a goal, 106 touches. 71 out of 81 passes were accurate, so 88%. 2 key passes. He tried 1 cross, it wasn't accurate. He tried 9 long passes, 7 were accurate. 1 shot on target, 1 dribble attempt was successful. He won 7 out of 8 ground duels, 5 out of 6 aerial duels. Lost possession 14 times. He committed 1 foul. He was fouled 4 times. He was offside once. He had 5 clearances, 2 interceptions, 2 tackles, and he wasn't dribbled past. I'll start with you, Seb, because you've been very vocal questioner of Paul Nabil Pogba and his application. So I want you to actually talk about his defensive work in this particular game. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was really, really impressed, man. Obviously, Ollie went with like a bigger team because we know what Burnley are about. They're like they're Stoke region, innit? Do you know what I mean? So he was in there, to provide some defensive cover on the long balls and the corners and stuff like that. But he done more than that. It's again, the interceptions were there. He was in the right position, and it's kind of reminiscent of what I said last week. Is I can't remember what performance we spoke about, but like what impresses me about Paul Pogba is he switched on defensively now. Like, again, one of the things that he always used to say is he can't tackle. He's always, tripping up players. Like, he's always running in the mud or whatever. But he seems to have turned a corner. And the tackling was really good. The clearances, everything was really, really good. Even in our own area, when they were sending long balls, Paul Pogba was there to kind of clear that out. So, for me, he seems like he's turned a corner. And it's probably my favorite ever Pogba performance.
You know what? I might not disagree. I think he had some good one. I remember Newcastle when he carried us when we were down, and he basically was carrying the ball all the way from defence, all the way up the pitch, creating chances. I think his first game against Southampton was pretty good. There's a few others that stand out, but I wouldn't actually begrudge you giving him this one because it was a game where nobody else was really on their top form. So it was he was really leading the team, essentially. He was getting on the ball a lot, as attested to by the 107 touches. He was getting on the ball a lot. He was progressing the ball up the pitch. You can always rely on him to play good passes. Well, you can't always rely on him. But when he's playing well, you can rely on him to play good passes off of either foot. He was picking up fouls, picking up free kicks. The defensive work is so important. Obviously, early in the season, he spoke about COVID. He spoke about the effects it had on his play. And even in our chat, we spoke a lot about how slow and sluggish he looked. And, for a player of his profile, so you're talking about a 6'3" player, but he's pretty agile, mobile. He looked like he'd lost a yard, and he was losing his man constantly in midfield, which kind of had us put 100% against the idea of him playing with Matic, because the thought was just they're going to overrun Pogba consistently, and then Matic is going to be exposed, which is going to expose the defenders. But defensively, he was all over the place. He was all over the place against Burnley. He was making tackles, interceptions. He was clearing it. He's doing that side of the midfield job, which I think that's probably what has people questioning him more. and then he was doing the creative side. Bruno's had a bit of a downturn in form, which is fine. He's been carrying the team along with Rashford for the majority of the season, so it's understandable. But it's good to see Pogba playing like this. It really is good to see Pogba playing like this. Obviously, we can't say with 100% confidence that this is Pogba now, because obviously we've had 5 seasons of this. So when everybody talks about it, we just say, "I hope he continues this form. I hope he continues this form."
That's all we can say, man. That's all we can say. But then, yeah, do you know what I also think of? I think about, like, obviously the Burnley performance, yeah, and I think about all the excuses everybody made for him over the past few years. Because if he's able to do that,
Bro,
like everything people have said,
unlocking Pogba is cap. So this is what my issue was, and
it's cap.
we can talk on this. The day after the game, all the Pogba FC guys were all like hyping, like, "Pogba, this is what we told you. You have to support him. He's the best player at the club, etc., etc., etc." And I took great umbrage to that, because I said, "We're not going to do this. We are not going to do this." Like, the first half of his season, if we're staying so far, we're splitting his season into 2 halves. He was very, very poor. He was very, very poor. You were here. We were giving him 3s. We were giving him 2s. I think he got a 2 one week. He was very, very poor. We can attribute that to COVID or whatever you want to call it. But he was very, very poor. To the point where it was like Ollie had to drop him. Like, Ollie literally had to drop him. That's how poor his performances were. And nobody said anything. Nobody said anything. The Pogba FC boys were silent. Even Disu, the chairman of Pogba FC, he wasn't around no more. He wasn't around no more. He wasn't around. And now they're trying to change the narrative. I think based on how poor the first half of his season was, for now, he's actually just come back up to being neutral. And now I need him to maintain this form that he's showing now going forward, and then we can have a conversation about him and this potentially being his best season for us. The whole unlocking Pogba just shows that it's within his gift, and we can separate a good player in a poor team from a player who's just playing poor. And that's always been the issue. If he'd been able to, or the issue for us, I'd say, if he'd been able to maintain his base level and he was doing the things he was supposed to do. So, like, for example, not necessarily a Burnley performance, even an Aston Villa performance. It's just a performance where you are leaving your stamp on the game. You may not get to every single ball defensively because you're not the only person playing the midfield. Your teammates are getting run over. They're attacking around down the side, which you're not playing in. You may not be able to create chances because when you're playing good passes through to your strikers, they're not finishing them, or their touch isn't good, or they can't beat their man. But from what we can see, you're influencing the game in both directions. As long as you're doing that, even if the team is not playing well, people will give you your credit. The problem is he wasn't doing that. So what we should not do now, after this good form, is revise it. I would like to ask you, what do you think has brought this on, though? What do you think has brought, because we agreed last week this is probably the best form he's had for us consistently since he came here. What do you think's brought this along? Because the way he's playing now, for me, that should be his base level.
I think it's like, all right, let me give you a real answer and then I'll give you a shameless answer. So the real answer is, I think he's looked at the quality of players around him and he realized, right, I may not be the outright best player in this team. Do you know what I mean? And this team don't have to rely on me. Do you know what I'm saying? So I can just pretty much do my thing and the other players can do their thing and we can get a result here. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's less pressure on his shoulders when you've got players like Bruno that are just inevitable. You've got players like Rashford that are banging goals. And, you know, even like Bailly coming in and being defensively sound, I think it's giving him a bit of motivation, especially when his friend Bailly's coming in and he's putting in solid performances from the jump, from his stint out. I can't come in and put in a stinker. Do you know what I mean? We're both boys. Yeah, I mean, like it doesn't make no sense. And I think he's also probably seen that when he was off the bench, the team was winning. When he was on the bench, the team was also picking up results. Do you know what I mean? Like he had to in some cases he was coming off the bench and, you know, just playing his little part, and we were still picking up results. So I think he knows that his place isn't a given, and he also knows that he's got quality players, and I think he trusts the players around him a bit more, and I think that's kind of enabled him to play. And you know, basically play at this level. So all of the things, as I said, that people said he shouldn't be doing that. Paul Pogba is not the person that dictates play. Paul Pogba is not the person that can tackle. He's not the person that will be the deepest. He's not the person. He's been doing all of those things, and these are the things that we require from top CM. Now, the shameless side will say he's trying to get his value up. He needs his move. Man, he's moved, bro. He needs his move in the summer, and he knew that his reputation was in the mud. So he had to switch it up and say, fam, yeah, I can't be getting fucking bids from, I don't know, Napoli and all that, man. I need to go in, start my authority and show the world what I'm about so they can come in at a decent fee and I can leave this dump.
A lot of the fans are getting a bit bullish now, saying they think he's going to stay. Do you think it's literally dependent on how we finish this season, or do you think that no matter what happens, he's going to be looking to get that move?
I think if three clubs coming for Pogba, 4 clubs coming for Pogba with a serious offer, he'll go. So if Real Madrid, Juve, Barcelona or PSG come in for Pogba, he's going to leave. That's it. So, and it's just depending on those teams. On top of that, we're not strapped for cash. We don't need to sell at 40 million. So the fee's got to be correct. Like, it's still business. So yeah. I think it's dependent on that. However, people are reading into, the things he's doing with Fosu Mensah and the way he's smiling, the way he's talking, and when Fosu Mensah left and they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna stay and he's happy or whatever. Of course he's smiling now. He's enjoying his football. We're winning games. Naturally, when we're winning games, players are gonna be happy. They're gonna be dancing around in the changing room. They're gonna be enjoying. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think they're reading into his off the field antics a bit too much. However, again, if the other teams don't have money, then he's going to be forced to stay.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch. Couple of questions before I let you go, sir. Firstly, what would you give his performance against Burnley out of 10?
Burnley, for me, is probably like a solid 9. I really, especially the second half. Like, I think the first half was okay. I think he was still trying to find his feet. I think he dabbled on the ball a bit too long. He was still stabbing his authority, but I feel like he was maybe maybe forcing the issue a bit too much. But I think in the second half he played with much more freedom. He trusted his teammates a bit more. He also got the winning goal, which was a great winning goal despite the deflection anyway. And he was just all round a beast. So I'd definitely probably give that a 9. I'd probably give that a 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say an 8.5, but you know what? I'll let you lead the way, and we'll go over 9 for this week.
9.
That's a very strong performance. I think it's probably the best performance in 18 months.
Yeah, God knows how long.
Best performance ever. For us. I wouldn't begrudge you that. And yeah, with that, we're now top of the table. So coming on to my second question, big game on Sunday against Liverpool. Do you expect him to start, A? And if he does start, how do you think he should be utilised?
So on Moga, I was against him starting because in my head, I'm still jaded in it. I'm like, Paul Pogba of, 7 matches ago, couldn't run, no energy in midfield. Liverpool have so much energy, we're just going to get run to the ground. However, this Paul Pogba and the continued form makes me think maybe we could play him, but we just need to be smart with the way we play him. I think Bruno and Pogba both could play, but if I'm Oli, I drop Bruno and I play Pogba. The only reason why I say that is because Bruno looks tired. Do you know what I mean? So I'll go with a 3-5-2. I'll go with maybe a McTom and Matic. I don't. Yeah, those positions not really our best, but I'll probably go with a McTom and Matic, and I'll probably go with a Pogba in a free role behind like Rashford and Cavani or something like that. With the 2 up front, and I think I just give Paul Pogba the license to kind of change the game. But it just depends on how Ollie's feeling. I think it's still a bit of a risk. But yeah, I would play him now instead of Bruno.
Cool. You know how it is with Bruno. Even when he plays poorly, he still manages to make stuff happen. But I agree with you. He really is not looking quite himself.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. He definitely, I think, will start now. He's earned his way into the team. I think even more so, if there was any doubts, Ollie had the defensive side of his game would have kind of alleviated those doubts, because you know how Liverpool are going to come. They're going to run and they're going to run and they're going to run. So you need to match them in that department, and we want to match them in that department. And then with our superior quality in midfield, especially, we want to create chances and hopefully grab a few goals. Can I get a prediction from you? I know you're going to be on the preview pod tomorrow with the Coppin lads, but
I'll say 2-1.
2-1 to naturally. So of course we'll be back next week. Timmy has said he'll come on. He's hoping that Pogba has a good performance. Listen, that man there, innit? Like, you see us, we just come on. We just come on. Well, this is investigative journalism. If you play well, we're on. If you don't play well, we're on. That's you don't wait for him to have a good game. Yeah, Disu came on the one time after a good game. Elijah came on that one time after a good period of form. Now Timmy's trying to do it. We outlast them all. So once again, Seb, I thank you for your time this evening, brother. And I'll catch up with you next week.
When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.